Hi everyone, today I'll be going over Beginning Java Lesson 1. As a quick overview, we'll be covering what Java is, print statements, comments, data types, and variables. So Java is not the same thing as JavaScript. Java is object-oriented, just like Python and JavaScript. And it has its own fun syntax where you have to end each line of code with a semicolon or else it will not run. And before we proceed with the rest of the lesson, please create a CodePad account by going to codepad.app and sign in or log in. So to sign up, simply press on this button and you can use traditional email or password, or you can sign with Google, which I will be doing. After that, to create a new pad, simply click on this blue plus button. You can name it Sang Java class and make sure to select Java as your programming language. And there, you have your first Java pad. And after you create your first pad, you might have noticed that it automatically comes with this main class. So what is it? Within the main class, you have this main function, and it is a public function that is the entry point into the Java program. And that basically means that every time you want to create a new Java program, you always start with this main class and this main function. And all of your code just goes here. So when you want to print in Java, simply write system.out.println, or commonly said as println. And this will allow you to print anything to the console so we can see it. So as an example, if you want to print hello world, what do you think the gray box should say? Pause and think about it. So it should have hello world wrapped around double quotes. So why don't you try printing out hello world in your new CodePad. And to execute this code, simply click on the blue Run button on the top, and you'll see that Hello World appears on the right where the console is. Next, we have comments. So comments are a great way to help you keep track of what your code is doing, and commented lines are ignored. So for a single line comment, you want to use double slashes. And for multiple lines, you want to write this slash asterisk and asterisk slash. And here we have an example of what that looks like. Okay, on to data types. So we'll be covering 5 different data types: string, integer, double, boolean, and character. First, we have strings, and they represent letters, words, numbers, or symbols. Strings are categorized by quotations, so the double quotation marks over here. And as an example, what do you think the string is in this print statement that we have seen in the previous slides? It is hello world because it is wrapped around these double quotes. Next, we got integers, or int, and they represent whole numbers like 4. And it will drop decimals when it's being divided. And we can see that in these 2 examples. This first one, 7 divided by 3, will typically output 2.333 repeating on a calculator. However, as an integer, it'll just be 2. Similarly, for 9 divided by 2, it will output 4.5, but as an integer, it'll just be 4. So integers, they just truncate the numbers following after the decimal point. And this is typically known as integer division. Doubles, on the other hand, represent numbers with decimals. And it will add decimals if it's just an integer. So which of the following is a double? Pause and think about it. So the doubles here are A, 4.0, and B, 0.254. C is a string while D is an integer. Booleans is pretty straightforward. It represents true or false values. Next, we have characters or char, and it represents one character on the keyboard, and it is denoted by a single quotation mark. So unlike strings, which is double quotation marks. So which of the following is not a character or char? Pause and think about it. So it would be A and C. So the reason for that is B is wrapped around double quotes, not single quotes, while this 23 is wrapped around single quotes. It's actually two characters and not one, so it is not a char. And over here, I'll provide 5 examples of the ways you can declare variables for each of the data types we just explored. For a string, you can type out string s to create a variable, and to assign to something, you would just write string s is equal to a string like hello. For int, you would write int num to create num as an integer variable, and you can assign it to an integer by writing equals and 4 or whatever number. For double, it's pretty similar. You write double d or whatever variable name, and you can set that equal to a double by putting equal signs and a double value. For Boolean, it'll just be Boolean space the variable name, and then you can set it to true or false. Lastly, for character or char, you want to write char variable name, and then you can set that equal to a character by wrapping that around single quotation marks. So as an exercise, go to your CodePad and create 5 different variables. The first one is a string data type with the variable name as your favorite animal, and you want to set that to your name. Next, you want to create an integer variable with the name as your favorite fruit, and you want to assign it to your age. Next, after that, you want to create a double variable where the variable name is your favorite fruit. Your favorite food, and you want to set that to 4.33. And now you want to create a Boolean type variable where the variable name is your favorite color, and you want to set that to true. And lastly, you want to create a character variable type where the variable name is your name, and you want to set that to the first initial of your name. So pause this video and give it a go. And once you're done, unpause, and I'll show you some example answers. So an example could be string dog is equal to David, int orange is equal to 14, double chicken is equal to 4.33, Boolean blue is equal to true, and char apple is equal to A. And notice that they all, well, some of them ends with semicolons. This one and this one, it is missing a semicolon, so it will throw an error when you run it in the Java CodePad. So make sure you always end each line with a semicolon. After that, create a string variable named testString and set it to any sentence. After you create that variable, use the system.out.println to print the string variable testString. Pause and return once you've done. Okay, so here's an example answer of what you could do. So you would write string, testString, and whatever sentence. In this case, it's is Katie cool? And print it by writing system.out.println with testString as the parameter. And it will output is Katie cool in the console. Okay, so pretending that all of this is in the main class, What do you think this code would do? Pause and think about it. Okay, so in this code, it will output this. Is Sebastian cool? Question mark. Absolutely not. And notice that it doesn't have a space in between. So this new sentence is called string concatenation. Well, it is the result of string concatenation. And that basically means that you're adding two different strings. So in this case, question and answer. And notice that there's no space in between question and answer because doing string concatenation doesn't automatically give you a space. You have to manually create a space if you want to do so. So create a string variable in a new CodePad or your existing one and call it name. After that, you want to print hello and the value of name you just created. So for example, name could be Bob and you would print hello Bob. So give that a go and come back to the video once you're finished. An example of what you can do is the following. So you can create a name or a string variable called name and assign that to Jeff. And you could print hello Jeff by doing the following string concatenation where you do system.out.println hello, comma, space, and then plus the name which has Jeff. So as a review, please go over each question, pause, and come back to see the answers. So what data type would D in single quotes be? How about D in double quotes? What's the difference between an int and a double? What command would you use to print hi, my name is Jeff? What if Jeff was kept in a variable that stores a string called name? Okay, so the answer to the first question is D would be a character and the other D would be a string because one is stored in single quotes, the other is in double quotes. An int has no decimals while a double does. And to print hi, my name is Jeff, you would use system.out.println in this sentence. And to assign Jeff in a string variable called name, you would do the following. And that's it. Thank you for listening.